Everybody, welcome back to the channel. HTM here with another important video talking about big changes coming soon to the Elder Scrolls Online in Update 33. These changes are due to hit the live servers in March and are pretty game-changing, at least when it comes to making builds in ESO. My first video on this topic, which I released last weekend, is going to be the most important to watch when it comes to understanding these changes, so I have a link for that in the description if you haven't seen it yet. But today we're talking about all the new buffs you have available on weapon skills, guild skills, even werewolf skills that you didn't have before. These are coming again in Update 33 to give you even more build options. Then we'll be looking ahead at the rest of the year to see how some of those buffs may be removed from the game completely or even merged together. Is this going to make the game too simple? Let's find out. And before we jump into things, a quick word from today's sponsor, Epic Desk. Epic Desk is home to the most epic desk mats available on the planet, with exclusive and rare run designs all made with top-tier build quality. These mats are thick and utilize high-quality threads and other materials finely woven together to create a luxurious feel. It looks fantastic and can elevate your gaming performance. I personally own and use the Buccaneer Battle Desk mat for my gaming setup. You guys have seen this before. I love the dark tones on this one. It matches perfectly with my black desk, and it also fits with the theme of this year's ESO High Isle chapter. Epic Desk mats are only stocked once in 3 rarity classes, limited release of 500, very limited release of 250, and extremely limited stocks with only 100 desk mats ever created. Every desk mat is hand-signed and numbered on the back, and also ships with a unique certificate of authenticity. So once they are gone, and never any restocks. If you're interested in one of these, they come highly recommended. Head on over to their site at epicdesk.shop. You can also use the code HACK during checkout for 15% off any stock desk mat. Alright, so I have been testing out Update 33 quite a bit on the PTS over the past 2 weeks. And I want to showcase today what I think is a great change for all players moving forward. Now this has to do with the buffs Major Brutality and Major Sorcery. Those improve your build's weapon damage and your spell damage. And then also the buffs Major Savagery and Major Prophecy, which increase your build's weapon critical and spell critical. Basically, you want these buffs on your character at all times to improve your damage and your healing, but if you're playing something like a hybrid build or one of the new single stat hybrids I talked about in my last video, you'd want to get all 4 of these buffs at the same time, which in the past has not been very easy to do. You might have to slot 3, even 4 skills just to get access to all these important buffs, but Update 33 is going to make this so much easier. Now here's what was added in the Week 1 PTS. Player abilities that grant Major Savagery, Prophecy, Brutality, or Sorcery now grant both of their respective versions, such as Savagery and Prophecy, in efforts to reinforce the accessibility of hybrid stat gaining. Note that player passives and consumables that grant the minor versions of these have not been adjusted at this time in order to preserve class-unique power contributions for coordinated groups. Okay, so in case you're not sure what I'm talking about yet, I want to break this down for you and show you all the skills that are changing. Like I said, it's mostly going to be weapon skills, some guild skills, some world skills as well, like werewolf. So let's actually start with weapon skills and two-hander with momentum. So if we look at the new tooltip for momentum, get them on the PTS for Update 33, you now gain Major Brutality and Sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 20%. As well as you still get minor endurance. So what does this mean? Well, basically, if you have a Magicka build, you can now run a two-hander and get your major damage buff that way. This could be a nice front bar option for some builds. It could be a good, like a buff back bar option. They also, I believe, changed forward momentum. This now gives you both buffs and minor endurance for up to 40 seconds, which is a really nice, long-lasting buff. Might be a nice back bar option, like I said. So that is there. That's an example of a skill now in Update 33 that's going to have both buffs on the same skill. Really nice option. Then we can go to Dual Wield here and look at Hidden Blade. This gives you Major Brutality and Sorcery for 20 seconds. So I know Dual Wield on Magicka classes, like running Dual Wield Daggers, for example, is not new. Some people have been doing that for a while now, but you now get your major buff, your major spell damage buff, can be obtained from this Hidden Blade skill as well. Either morph will give you that important buff, which is really nice. Now, bow got an interesting change as well. If we come down and look at Poison Arrow, and specifically one of the morphs here, Venom Arrow, this still does the interrupt, this still does the off balance like it has done before, but you can see the new effect here. After casting, you gain Major Brutality and Sorcery, increasing your weapon and spell damage for 10 seconds. So really nice option for the bow users out there. Yes, you can use this on the Magicka build to get your Major Sorcery now. The only thing I don't like about this is the duration is a little bit short. You saw in those other buffs, Dual got this for 20 seconds, Two-Hand gets it for 40 seconds. 10 seconds is a little bit short for a major buff. I'd like to see them increase that to at least 14, 15 seconds. So in case your rotation isn't perfect, you can still, maintain this. But keep in mind that is an option, and a good option for ranged builds especially. I think that's it in terms of weapon skills. Let's jump down actually to guild skills, show you some changes here. One more option actually for Major Brutality and Sorcery is going to be here in Entropy. So if we look at our morphs of Entropy and check out Degeneration, you gain Major Brutality and Sorcery for 24 seconds after casting. So this is a new one as well. You used to get Major Sorcery, right, which is the spell damage buff. You now get Major Brutality as well, which is the weapon damage buff. This I actually prefer on something like a bow build, like a front bar bow, back bar bow. I would actually run Degeneration maybe on my back bar to get my Major Brutality buff basically for free. I don't have to use a potion. This damage is going to scale up based on your weapon damage and stamina, because again, all damaging skills in the game will now scale off your highest stats. To get a nice single target dot, you'll get your major buff, and it costs Magicka, so it's not going to drain your main stamina pool. It's basically be like a Magicka dump skill that you get a lot of great benefits from. So you'll definitely want to check that out, especially on things like bow builds next patch. I really like this ability. We can see other things here like Inner Light. Obviously, this used to give just the Major Prophecy buff, which was spell critical, about 12% spell crit chance. This now gives you both again, so Major Savagery and Prophecy. I don't see many stamina builds running Inner Light next patch. That does give you the extra Magicka, gives you some Mages Guild passives, but I probably wouldn't use it on the stamina build. What is really interesting, though, is in Fighters Guild, and if we look at Expert Hunter, this now gives you Major Savagery and Prophecy as well, meaning Magicka builds can use this, and I'm thinking specifically of the Camouflage Hunter morph. I know some Magicka builds have used this before, but you now have the additional bonus of Major Prophecies. For that extra 12% or so crit chance bonus, you're going to get that on top of the Minor Berserk. It's going to be great for solo Magicka builds. It's going to be great for solo arena runs, PvP builds I'm thinking of, anywhere where you don't have like a healer giving you that Minor Berserk buff. This is super nice. And remember, one of the best things about Fighters Guild is the passives. So if you're running this on a Magicka build, you're getting bonus weapon and spell damage, and you're getting bonus ultimate whenever you kill an enemy. So yeah, Camouflage Hunter, if you're not running that yet, make sure you check that out. You might want to run that next patch. And then the other thing I know people are going to ask about is Werewolf skills, which generally just gave you like the stamina build version of that buff. Do they give both now? Yes, they do. Herstine's Bounty. While slotted, you gain Major Brutality and Sorcery, increasing both weapon and spell damage by 20%. And Roar, while slotted, you gain Major Savagery and Prophecy, increasing your weapon and spell crit rating. Even the Werewolf passives now give you both weapon and spell damage. So yes, Magicka Werewolf builds could definitely be a thing next patch in Update 33. You have to keep in mind, though, that the majority of your skills are going to cost stamina. So I don't see a Magicka Werewolf build working that well, unless you want to do something like a pure light attack build or like a heavy attack build on the Werewolf. Then yeah, you can be a fully spec'd Magicka build, and that will work just as well. Now, as far as what hasn't changed, in case you're wondering, for example here, potions have not changed. These are still like single stat focused. You're going to get Major Sorcery, Major Prophecy on this, not, Major Sorcery and Brutality, at least not yet. That's something that they may be looking into in the future. Racial passives, those haven't changed. Mundus Stones have not changed. And the specific class bonuses, like, for example, Dragon Knight giving Minor Brutality, that hasn't been hybridized. They're not giving both Minor Brutality and Sorcery. Templars still give minor sorcery. But that does make me start thinking about the future of the game, even, maybe next patch in Update 34 in the High Isle chapter. What are they going to start doing with these buff abilities? Now, there was a note in the combat forums. They talked about dual sourcing buffs on abilities, major prophecy, major savagery, brutality, and sorcery. We just looked at that. And then they said, in the long term, we plan on simply merging these bonuses so there are fewer names and effects you need to worry about. But there's a lot of behind-the-scenes work that will result from that, and it may take quite some time before we're able to do that. So I think the future here is pretty clear. Buffs like Major Prophecy and Savagery, they're either going to just delete one of those from the game and make one buff give both effects, or they're going to create like an entirely new buff. Remember, we have seen that actually in the past. Specifically, I'm thinking of the Major Armor debuff. We used to have Major Breach. We had the other Major Fracture debuff, which reduced physical resistance. Those got combined into the Major Breach debuff. They basically just deleted Fracture from the game, combined both effects into one buff. And I think that's probably what we'll see here. So, for example, maybe they take out Major Prophecy, they leave Major Savagery, but it gives you both effects. Something like that. I think we'll probably see something similar with Brutality and Sorcery. That seems to be what they are hinting at here, at least. So then they could make Major Brutality the only, damaging buff in the game, and that increases your weapon and spell damage both together. The other thing I was thinking about too is they could even take this a step further when you're looking at your attribute sheet, when you're looking at things like weapon damage and spell damage. Will they eventually combine both of those stats into one, just plain damage stat? For the purposes of skills in the game, that's basically what we have now. Moving forward in Update 33, your highest stat is the only thing that matters, right? I don't know if we'll get to that place. It might be, another year where we get to that if they're going in that direction. A few things would have to change, like those class-specific minor buffs would need to change, obviously. But what do you guys think of that? Would that make the game too simple at that point? Are we already getting into a place where it's too simple with these buffs being combined together? I personally like it because it gives more build flexibility, especially with hybrid setups like we've talked about. Mixing together Magicka and Stamina skills is going to be easier than ever and even more effective. But I'd be curious what you guys think. Let me know down in the comment section below. If you guys enjoyed the video today, please do me a favor and crush that like button. Make sure you're subscribed right here for many more ESO guides, builds, and updates. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you're doing well. Stay safe out there, and I will see you around in the next video.